and welcome back to the Steam Forward podcast. Happy Friday, and my name is Savannah, and as always, I am your host. And today our conversation is going to be centered around getting into college and getting scholarships. And we have a lot of students that are in middle school and high school, and they're really working towards figuring out what they want to do in the future, but also this process of getting scholarships and applying to colleges can be really stressful. And today, my guest is my coworker, Christian Williams, and he ran track in high school, but how he was able to run track in high school, he got a full ride. And he's just going to give us some tips, some tricks on how to apply to colleges, maybe how to get scholarships. And he's just going to tell us about some stressors and things to look out for during this process. So help me welcome our guest, Christian.
How you guys doing, everyone?
Yeah, welcome. Well, Christian, just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you doing now? Because you are my coworker. So what's up?
So right now, I am currently working for Peacemakers Family Center. I'm a program manager for one of the nonprofit organizations there. We pretty much deals with youth, at-risk youth. We go there, we talk to the kids about healthy relationships, healthy life skills, finances, and pretty much just planning for life.
Right. Okay, awesome. Well, the kids, they always ask me this question because I've been to college as well. And they always want to know, how was college? What was college like?
College was fun. College definitely was an experience. You kind of go there with your high school mindset. And when you leave, you're definitely more matured if you apply it the right way. But college was great. I learned a lot. It was fun. It was definitely fun. And I learned a lot.
Right. So did you stay on campus, off campus? Like, what was that kind of like for you?
I stayed on campus all 4 years, actually. My first year I stayed in freshman dorms, of course. So
yeah, same.
It was kind of in the cut. Kind of had to walk like 15, 20 minutes just to get in my classes. But my sophomore, junior year, I kind of stayed in the more, uppity places. It was very nice. Kind of like a hotel. So I stayed on campus all 4 years, though. So I kind of got the college life experience.
Yeah. How was having a roommate? Was it challenging?
Roommates feel like having coworkers. You just have to deal with them. You have to deal with them.
I get that. So you ran track. So how did you even get started with track? Was it before high school? Was it before college?
So the funny thing about that is I actually did basketball my entire life. So I did basketball from I was 5 years old. And pretty much my first game of high school, I did really well. And the track coach saw me jump and was like, I want this guy out there.
Right.
So my ninth grade year, I did track, but I was doing more speed than jumping. So that wasn't really my thing. I could run, but that wasn't my specialty. My sophomore year was the first time I did what actually got me into college was the high jump. And my first time doing it, I went to states and I got fourth. And then pretty much after that, my 11th and 12th grade year, after I knew I was really good at it, we practiced all the time and I pretty much won states those years, and that pretty much what got me into college.
So when I went to college, I didn't go for sports. So how the process looks like was you had a recruiter that came and watched you do track, or?
So with that, so I didn't necessarily have a recruiter at first. So kind of how any sports works is when you do good enough, you're going to be on a certain type of stat list and you're ranked in your state or your region or whatever. So the coach is already looking at you on that list. So you kind of will get letters and emails without even knowing. Your coaches will receive it. They'll receive the letters and then they'll kind of let you know, hey, Christian, you have a letter for you. That's kind of how it went for me my junior and sophomore year. My senior year, that's when I actually started getting visits from the coaches because it's my senior year and they know I'm about to make that transition. So that's when I actually had coaches come and visit me at my meets. So I had, I think, University of Miami, FIU, of course, alumni. I had Alabama State, and I had a few other. I had FSU. I had FSU reach out to me. So I had a few colleges come to my meets when I actually were competing. But it was a good process. I mean, you definitely have to make some highlight tapes. You have to, on your coach's end, your coach is your recruiter pretty much. Your coach has to vouch for you. So that's pretty much how that process kind of went for me. And honestly, I wasn't even aware of the process until, I don't know, maybe a couple months from graduation.
Right.
So, I mean, thankfully, I had that coach that kind of was looking out for me. And that's something that I would definitely tell people to take it more seriously starting from your sophomore year.
Right.
From your sophomore year, start going to those schools and reaching out to those colleges and making those highlight tapes if you're a student athlete and kind of pursuing a scholarship to start from then. Because I kind of started late. I just got lucky.
Right. So you said that there's a website that kind of ranks and has your stats. Like, do
Yes.
you have to apply to be on that, or you're just automatically put in?
No, you're automatically plugged in. Once you compete, and I don't want to what's that word called? Limit what is good and what is not good, but pretty much, let's say if you're ranked the top 20 in the state, you're going to be on that list. Even if you're in the district or in the region, you're still going to be on a certain list. You don't have to pay for it, and they'll see you. They'll see you, and oh, let me get this guy, or he's number 5 in the state, or he's number 4 in the state. And like I said, it has local, it has regional, and it has statewide. So each list can look different. You can be number 1 and 2 in your district and region, and you can be number 6 in the state.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you went to college, and since you were there on a scholarship for playing track, did you feel more pressure to always be the best at track because you knew you were there on the scholarship? Like, did it push you in a different way you think it would have done if you weren't there on a track scholarship?
Yes, it was definitely humbling. Because in high school is just different. Like I said, high school, I only lost once, and that was because I tore my hamstring, and even then I came in second. So it was definitely different because when I went to college, everybody's on scholarship.
Right.
I'm no longer that best guy. We all only lost once or twice, and
Right.
everybody kind of was on the same level. So it's kind of like competing against like 3 or 4 of my
Right.
own versions of myself. So it definitely was humbling because I couldn't just go out there expecting to just be number 1. I had to actually work hard and apply myself.
So what did your schedule look like? So I guess how when you were running track in high school, did it take up a lot of your time?
Yeah, so the only difference is time. So high school, we would have practice right after school. Right after school ended, we would have like a little stretch from 2:20 to 3, and from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock, we'll be working out, practice, and then weight room. College was different because I actually had to wake up at 5 a.m. to make it to weights at 5:30.
Yeah.
And then we would have like a pre-practice right after weight room, which would be like around 8 o'clock.
Right.
And then we would have practice at 11 to like 2 or 3. And all between that time, either have classes in between where I have to leave practice, go to class, come back to practice, or I would just have class later, put all my classes later in the day, which is what I did my freshman year. So I had classes from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock sometimes.
Right. So doing sports in college is no joke.
Yeah, it's no joke.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's no joke.
So what would you say are some tips that you could give a youth that's aspiring to get a scholarship in a sport, or maybe even just applying to a college?
So just from my experience, if you really do want to get a scholarship, well, it depends, I guess. If you are just trying to get a scholarship in a sport, I would say to try a bunch of sports out and see which one is best for you. If you already have a sport that you're already passionate about, I would say apply yourself. Don't necessarily worry about the competition and everybody else. Just be the best version of you.
Right.
Don't worry about the other person being the best wide receiver, best point guard, or those are all different positions. Just whatever position you're in, focus on yourself.
Right.
Be the best. Also, like I said, make highlight tapes. Have someone record you. Have someone record your stats, and all those things look good to coaches because when they see the video, yes, they see your stats, but they don't have a visual. So someone can have amazing stats, but when you look at their video, they look lazy on there.
Right.
So if you have a person that's hardworking and they're always showing hardworking, they're building up the team on the sidelines, getting everybody hyped. Coaches love that. They love team players. So you're kind of recruiting your personality as well, not just your stats. So I would say record that. And give it to your coach and they'll market it for you along with your grades. Make sure your grades are on point too.
Please.
If your grades are not on point, then
it might be tough for you.
Yes,
for sure. So when you were doing the applications, were there some complicated parts that you kind of gave you a hard time? Was there some things that took a little longer than others?
Not really. Besides the time that I didn't really have laptops back then.
Right.
So I had the desktops.
Yeah.
Besides that, it was good. There was no autofill, so everything I had to type in.
Right. These kids are so blessed. They have Common App.
Yeah,
that's
insane.
Crazy. It's insane.
That's crazy. So it wasn't really difficulties with that. The application process, it was just tedious. That was it.
I feel you. So what are some things that the youth should look out for just to be ahead of the game, and maybe some stressors that might come along the way and how they can deal with that?
In regards to which process?
Just maybe even the transition from high school to college. Maybe it's the application process.
Okay.
Maybe it's figuring out what's the right college for them.
I would definitely say go to college based off what will benefit your dreams and future
Mhm.
best, don't go for a relationship. Don't go because your boyfriend or girlfriend is going. You want to go there with them. I would definitely say go to like what fits. So I'm not sure what has the best medical campuses and best sports management campuses, but that's something you would look at if you're into that. Google those campuses, Google those colleges that kind of fit what you're passionate about at that moment, and apply to them. Take a
Right.
visit on there.
Do your research. Do your
research. But that process is, pretty straightforward. As far as transitioning to college is very independent. There's
Yeah.
nobody holding your hand.
Mm-mm.
The professors, they don't really care if you're coming to class or not coming to class. You're gonna get that F regardless.
Right.
So it pretty much forces you to be independent and take initiative and pretty much reach out to them.
Right.
And pretty much just you have to over communicate. If you're gonna miss a day, talk to the professor. If you're
Right.
sick, you have to communicate because they will, work with you. But if you don't, communicate, nobody's looking out after you. So that's why it's independent. There's a lot of independence. There's no hand holding.
Right. It taught you a lot of like self accountability.
Yeah, definitely.
Same. I feel that. Well, Chris, if you could just think about all of these experiences and if you could just choose one word, because we like to do the word of the day here on the Steam Forward podcast. Okay. If you could think of one word that describes this experience, what word would that be?
I would say intentional. Being intentional, because in college, I realized that half the time the work is easy. The work is very easy. I didn't realize that to my senior year, but I was trying to boost my GPA up so high, and I realized, wow, all I had to do was just be intentional about what I wanted to do, and college would have been a breeze. Well, it was already a breeze, but it could have been smoother than it was. And pretty much just your entire college course as a whole, just be intentional about waking up early, going to class, doing your work, because a lot of times nobody's, waking you up to say, hey, go to class, go to school. Mom and dad is not there to do that for you. So just being intentional with everything you want to do and knowing, if I want to become this person after I graduate, I have to do this while I'm in school, so intentional.
I like that. Be intentional. Well, y'all heard it here. Thank you so much again for tuning into the Steam Forward podcast. And always a huge shout out to our sponsors. That's the Children's Trust and Trinity Church. And remember, there are 3 ways in which you can listen or view this podcast. The first 2 ways are just the audio, and that's through Spotify and Apple. But if you'd like to watch us, you can also find us on YouTube. And as always, you are watching the Steam Forward podcast. Steam Forward podcast.